welcome to our first episode of Kids in the Kitchen. Jacob and I today are going to be making crab meat mornay, which once got my Uncle Lee out of a ticket. The first things you need to make crab mornay are a stick of butter, 6 to 8 green onions chopped, and I like to chop mine kind of fine, a half a bunch of parsley chopped fine, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1.5 cups of half and half, and I actually use fat-free half and half, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1 pound of lump crab meat that you've picked through. You'll also need a half a pound of Swiss cheese, either chopped or shredded.
Can I shred it?
You may shred it.
You're back and kids in the kitchen. Mama helped me slice the cheese, and Mama already picked through the crab meat.
Next, what we're going to do is we're going to melt the butter and saute the onions in the butter. We're going to do that till they are soft. When that's done, we'll add in the parsley. The onion is sauteing. It's starting to get soft. I'll now add my parsley. Let that saute for a second or two. Next, I'm going to stir in the 2 tablespoons of flour. Next, we'll add in our half and half. Again, I used fat-free half and half. I like to kind of pour it in slow while I'm stirring because it's going to seize up some of your heat. Once I see that the cream, or the half and half, has heated up some, is when I will add in the half a pound of shredded Swiss cheese. Okay, our half and half has gotten nice and warm and it's starting to thicken a little bit, so we will add in our half a pound of Swiss cheese. We're just going to stir it until it's melted and incorporated. It shouldn't take too long. Now, I'm sure many of you are wondering about this ticket. My Uncle Lee came down to visit us in Mississippi after our son was born, and every year around Christmas and Thanksgiving I like to make crab meat mornay. It was the first time my Uncle Lee had been down to see the baby, and I made it. He loved it so much that I made a batch for him. He had it in the car on his way back up to Connecticut. He got pulled over by a trooper for speeding, and he had been also eating the crab meat mornay with little French bread rounds, and the police officer asked him, "What are you eating?" And my Uncle Lee said, "Crab meat mornay." Would you like to try some? The police officer said, sure. He gave him some. Said, do you have the recipe? He said, I sure do. Handed it over. The cop went to the back of the car. My Uncle Lee thought he was writing him a ticket. He came back, had written down the recipe, told him to have a nice day and to drive slower. So he got out of a ticket from this crab meat Mornay. Next, we're going to add in the salt and the cayenne pepper. Remember, that's 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So the consistency is somewhat thick. It smells wonderful. And to me, it kind of has a beautiful presentation. Last, we're going to add in our crab meat. Now, do make sure that you pick through your crab meat. I found several of the clear shells, the soft clear shells, and a couple crunchy ones that would probably end up giving you some problems with your teeth, especially if you have a crown. So just add that in. Turn off your heat. Gently fold it in. The crab meat will come apart a bit when you're folding it. That's fine, especially since I have several larger lumps of crab meat in here. There you go. Serve it with French bread or baguette that is small, cut on the diagonal little bit, so then you just plop it on when it's warm and eat it right then. If you have a chafing dish, you can put this in a chafing dish with a little bit of heat underneath it so it stays warm. I usually end up just serving it right out of the pan or the pot because it's still warm, it tastes good, everyone wants it right then. And there you go. So here is our recipe for crab meat Mornay.
Hope you liked our show of Tits in the Kitchen. See you next time.